In my 21 years as a psychologist specialising in weight, one of the most common questions I'm asked is why can't I manage my weight when it's so easy for everyone else? In this first episode of my weight loss psychology series, I want to share with you 10 hard truths about weight loss psychology that will help you understand why you struggle and why you're not alone. But importantly, I want to tell you that change is possible. However, you first need to accept what you're doing now isn't working. And in this video, I'm going to help you understand why. I'm Dr. Paula Watson. I'm a Liverpool-based psychologist specialising in weight problems, eating disorders and exercise. I've recently been reflecting on what I've learned during my 21 years supporting clients with the psychological side of weight loss. I see many common psychological factors that firstly lead people to struggle with their weight and secondly are important to understand for a healthy approach to weight loss. Unfortunately, many of these truths aren't often spoken about. So I decided to make this series of weight loss psychology videos so I can share 10 key insights that will help you understand how psychological factors make weight loss so challenging and to begin to develop a more natural, sustainable and enjoyable approach to your weight management, which by the way is possible. I'm going to release one video per week for the next 10 weeks, covering each of the topics in more depth, so you can really get to grips with the underlying psychology and learn practical steps for moving forward. And if any of the points in this intro video resonate, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the explanatory videos. And if you're watching this in the future, you'll see links to the published videos throughout so you can easily find them. Let's get on to the 10 learning points. I'm going to use the analogy of a plant to explain these. We can think of the first 9 points as the roots of the plant, so the psychological factors underpinning why people struggle with their weight. And if we continue to ignore these roots, the plant is going to become stunted and unhealthy. The final point then is going to be about how we need to nourish the plant to grow and how weight loss therapy can help you do that. Truth 1. Our relationship with weight is always rooted in our upbringing. When clients first come to me for weight loss therapy, I ask them if they're aware of anything from their upbringing that might have influenced their relationship with their weight. Whilst some people can point to early trauma or mothers constantly on diets, it's equally as common for clients to respond to this by saying, I really can't think of anything. We were encouraged to eat healthily or had a happy childhood. But when we start digging deeper into their childhood experiences, we often discover what influenced how they learn to see themselves as a person and how they learn to relate to the world around them. Contrary to what people often think, this doesn't need to be a huge trauma or significant event. This might be the way parents talked about or how they behave themselves around food, or it might be things that made you feel as a child undeserving, not good enough, or perhaps like you needed to always be the one who was okay. It can be challenging to face and think about some of this stuff, but once we understand these roots, we're able to give them the nourishment they need so we can generate more healthy growth. Truth 2. Anyone can lose weight for 12 weeks, but few people keep it off in the long run. When I deliver training sessions, I ask people to think of someone they know who successfully lost weight and kept it off for 5 years. So try this yourself now. Do you know anyone who lost a significant amount of weight and kept it off? Although it seems like people are succeeding in weight loss all around us, few people can think of anyone when I ask this question, because the reality is society's made it incredibly difficult for anyone to do this. And by the time clients come to see me, they've usually tried every diet under the sun. Many of them are more knowledgeable about nutrition than I am. And for sustainable weight loss, we need much more than just knowing what to eat and what exercise to do. This is why give us a program, we can easily follow it for 6, 10, 12 weeks, but come 20 weeks, we still know what to do, but somehow the motivation to do it's gone. So the key point I want to make here is that it's not your fault you find it difficult to keep your weight off. The way weight loss programs are set up is to give you the knowledge to put your body into a calorie deficit for a short time period, which anyone can do and lose weight. But these programs are often so restrictive they're not sustainable. And when we go back into our normal lives, surrounded by food temptation everywhere, social events and other commitments, we soon relapse because we haven't been taught the psychological skills to navigate these challenging environments. But the good news is, whatever methods you've used in the past, it's never too late to learn the skills to maintain your weight in the long term. Truth 3. Disordered eating is incredibly common. Disordered eating, it can take many forms. So for many people, it's where your relationship with food takes up too much headspace. This causes distress and impacts your behaviour around eating and your body. So you behave in ways that aren't often helpful for your mental or physical health. You might binge eat, restrict your food, engage in purging like vomiting or taking laxatives, or perhaps you find that your exercise is becoming obsessive. You might spend a lot of time checking your body, comparing yourself with others and worrying about your weight. You might avoid social occasions or be too afraid to eat in front of others, which might lead to eating in secret. And what I've noticed over the years is that a large percentage of my clients who struggle with their weight also have some form of disordered eating. This might not fully meet the criteria for a clinical eating disorder diagnosis, but they're engaging in unhelpful behaviours and their relationship with food, exercise, or weight causes them significant distress. So what I've also noticed is that this is a hidden phenomenon. Thousands of people, men and women, are suffering in silence and don't talk about their eating problems with eating because they're ashamed. I've had clients who have suffered in silence for decades, and their partners, their best friends, their family aren't aware. I've worked with young people so conscious about their bodies, but never speak to their friends about this, despite knowing their friends also struggle. And I'll be having a casual conversation about my job with my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training partners, and frequently people share that they've also had difficult relationships with food. So it saddens me how we're not talking about this and how common it is. You might feel alone, but sadly there's lots of people around you who are likely experiencing similar difficulties. So let's start talking and supporting each other. It can be really powerful to learn from someone in the same boat. If this resonates with you, I gently invite you to share your experiences in the comments below, and let's start talking. Truth 4. Weight management is harder for some than others. It's important I'm open here and say I've been really fortunate to have lived with a healthy weight so far in my life. Only once have I gained a significant amount of weight, and that was at university, where I put on about 2 stone through pure overindulgence in food and alcohol. Luckily, I was also really active, which limited the damage, and it helped when I then decided to make small changes, and I was able to gradually lose the weight after graduating. So I do have some experience of losing weight in a sustainable way. And I must admit, I also have a real love for food, and I'm definitely susceptible to overeating. I really struggle to control my cravings sometimes, particularly in the evenings. But I realise my experience is very different from someone who's living in a larger body and has struggled with weight their whole life. I'm very fortunate to love movement as I do. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by like-minded people who support a healthy lifestyle. And I'm fortunate to have been given genes that mean I'm perhaps less vulnerable to weight gain. But this has made me question at times whether I can truly support someone else with their weight loss when I don't have that lived experience myself. And when you watch my videos, it's really understandable you might have the same question in your mind. But I've learned over the years that by constantly reflecting and staying aware of my own experiences, even when these are different from my clients, this actually frees me up to better understand my clients, to better understand you. Because my focus is on truly understanding your situation as it is for you, rather than presuming our experiences are the same. Weight management takes some effort for 99% of the population, but the reality is it is easier for some than others. And as a psychologist specializing in weight, it's really important I remember this. I've worked with many clients to understand their situation as it is for them and to find solutions that fit their personal lifestyle. And this will be different for everybody. Truth 5. People living with overweight suffer daily stigma. Living with overweight is a unique condition. You can't see if someone doesn't do enough exercise. You can't see if someone has an unhealthy diet. You can't see if someone smokes, someone drinks, someone takes drugs. You can't even see if someone has heart disease, a rare genetic condition, or diabetes. But you can see if someone is in a larger body. And when I was studying my MSc over 20 years ago now, I read a passage from a PhD written by someone with obesity that really resonated with me. So I wanted to share with you what they wrote. Much of the pain originates not in what I fundamentally think of myself or what you think of me, but what I think you think of me. The content of this fantasy belief by collusion between you and I is never reality tested due to an interpersonal discomfort we both share about being fat. This hidden bias is everywhere in society, from gyms to aeroplanes to theatre seats. I hear how much weight consciousness holds my clients back from everyday tasks like going into town or attending social events. They often expect the first thing people are going to see is their weight, which affects their interactions at work, it affects their interactions with doctors, healthcare, family, friends. They talk about how challenging it is to be constantly around others' weight talk. So whilst things have definitely improved in the 21 years I've been working in weight loss psychology, there's a long way to go still. We need to keep challenging weight stigma and challenge our own unconscious biases. And by staying focused on what you can control, it is possible to develop a trust and respect for yourself that overrides what others think. Truth 6. Most people set themselves unrealistic weight loss goals. When clients come to work with me, they've often got an idea of the weight or the size they'd like to be, and this is usually based on the smallest they've ever been, ignoring the fact this might have been 20 years ago, or perhaps they've based it on what they've calculated to be a healthy body mass index or BMI for them. Unfortunately, the reality is if people have gained a lot of weight in their adult lives, it's very difficult to get back to either their smallest or to what's classed as a healthy BMI. There's many reasons for this, such as reduced metabolism through repeated weight losses and gains, as well as the challenges of sustaining lifestyle changes I mentioned earlier. The good news is that it is realistic for most people to lose at least 5 to 10% of their weight and to keep this off. So if you weigh 100 kilos, that's 5 to 10 kilogram loss. This might not sound much, but we know if you lose this amount, there are substantial physical health benefits, such as reduced risk of heart attacks, strokes, diabetes. For many people, it's really difficult to let go of their more ambitious weight loss goals. They might have an ingrained belief that they're a more worthwhile person if they're slimmer, and this goes back to their upbringing or to the weight stigma we talked about earlier. But from a psychological perspective, clinging to these unrealistic goals is like setting ourselves up to fail. Then when we fail again, this further strengthens our belief that we'll never be able to change, which leads us on to truth number 7. If you believe you can't, you won't. One of the most famous theories in psychology created by the late Albert Bandura is self-efficacy theory. This theory, and lots of evidence since, shows that if we're confident we will achieve something, so we have a high self-efficacy, our chances of actually achieving it are improved. Vice versa, if we're confident we're going to fail, so we have a low self-efficacy, there's a good chance we will. Relating this to weight management, when most clients come to see me, they've spent years, decades even, following a quick fix diet, losing weight, then regaining it, often more than they started with. One of the key factors in determining how confident we are in something is our past experience. So if we've never actually succeeded at keeping our weight off for longer than 12 weeks, it's totally understandable that we have doubts that whether we can do it this time. And this is where the challenge lies. Because in order to actually make things different this time, you need to start believing you can do it. And this is where, as a psychologist, I'd work with you to help you build your belief in yourself over time. And as you get more evidence that you're capable, your mindset will begin to change and your chances of things being different this time will improve. Truth 8, moderation is the key, but most people don't know how to unlock it. I'm sure it's not news to you that everything in moderation is the healthiest approach to sustainable weight loss. But what creators giving these messages can forget is that psychologically, moderation is really tough for many people. As humans, we're wired to be all or nothing animals. If you've been yo-yo dieting for years, you've got loads of experience of what all rules out the window means, and loads of experience of what over-restricted diet means, but you don't have a blueprint for what moderation looks like. And this is something all my clients struggle with at first. I'm there to support them through a process of trial and error to discover what moderation looks like for them. And that will be different for everyone. But when you achieve it, it comes with an immense sense of freedom and that's something that you probably never knew existed. Truth 9, motivation is complex. When it comes to exercise or losing weight, it can feel like our motivation is an unpredictable bouncing ball. One day it's up, another it's gone again. We try and motivate ourselves by setting targets. We then feel too pressured and it becomes a chore. We're full of good intentions, but when the day comes, something else gets in the way. This is all really normal. The reality of motivation is it's incredibly complex. It's not a case of we either have it or we don't. There's different types of motivation. Some are helpful, some are less helpful. But essentially, when we feel like we're doing something because we should, it's always going to be difficult to keep up. As a psychologist, I work with clients to help them identify why change is so important for them, and then they can use this as a motivation to keep going. I help them recognize their own capabilities and support them to reach their goals. And we need all of these things if we want to stay motivated. So if you're struggling now, a good starting point is to ask yourself what you're missing. Do you have a meaningful reason for changing your lifestyle? Do you feel capable? And have you set yourself realistic goals? Do you have support around you to help you change? I've linked to a blog below that I wrote about exercise motivation, as it might be helpful to understand some of these things more. Truth 10. If you struggle with your weight, it can be difficult to change things alone. When clients come to see me, they often feel a great deal of shame at having to ask for help with their weight. People believe weight is something we should be able to manage ourselves. Somehow we're happy to take our car to the garage when something isn't working, but when it comes to our weight, we keep returning to the same DIY methods, hoping it'll somehow be different next time. And then when it isn't, we again feel like a failure. This does make me wonder if one of the reasons weight loss injections are so tempting is that asking for a prescription for a drug somehow feels easier than opening up to another person about psychological struggles under the surface. So whilst weight loss drugs can be part of the solution for some people, a fundamental concern with drugs like Mounjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic is that they only work whilst you're taking them, and they don't address the underlying psychological reasons you struggle with your weight, which might be okay if the plan's to take them forever, but we don't yet know what the long-term risk of these drugs are, and many people can't afford or don't intend to take the drugs forever. If you want to learn more about this, check out the recent video I made about GLP-1 medication, where I explain what the research shows and how weight loss therapy might help. And if we return to our plant analogy, weight loss medication is like covering a split in the leaves with sticky tape. Make the plant look well on the surface, but the roots remain unchanged. And once the tape is removed, we still have all the challenges we started with. The first thought people often have if they need support with the weight is to see a personal trainer or to see a dietitian. But as I said earlier, you probably already know what to do. It's how to do it that you need support with. And this is where psychological weight loss therapy can come in. It's a sign of great strength to reach out for therapy. And when you take the courage to work on yourself, it can be life-changing. And this is where I can speak from experience. I know how much personal therapy has helped me overcome challenges I'd never been able to address alone. Weight loss therapy is focused specifically on your relationship with weight, diet, and exercise. It helps you explore and overcome your challenges with weight and learn to believe in yourself. And through this, it addresses the psychological blocks that we've discussed in this video. So imagine what life could be if you understand how your upbringing influenced you and you're finally able to let go of that self-blame. If you accept that it's not your fault the quick fix diets haven't worked. If you accept that longer term change requires psychological effort and time, but with the right approach, it is possible. If you accept the aspects of your life you can't control, but instead learn how to manage them. If you begin to believe you can really do this. If you feel empowered to adjust your weight loss goals and accept what's realistic for you. If you learn how to achieve moderation and keep this up. If you understand how to stay motivated. And if you no longer feel alone in your weight loss struggles. And when you work on getting these foundations healthy, you've every reason to believe this weight loss attempt is going to be different. In this video, I've shared 10 truths I've learned over 21 years of working as a weight management psychologist. These truths aren't about doom and gloom. They're realities I see in my practice day in, day out. They may be hard to hear, but you may have heard the saying, what we resist persists. And ignoring them doesn't make them go away. Knowing these truths doesn't mean you throw in the towel either. It means you're starting from a level playing field. You're freeing yourself of false hopes and unrealistic pressures, and accepting these truths will free you up to achieve weight loss that's natural, sustainable, and importantly enjoyable, as so many of my clients have experienced. I'll be back next week with episode 2 in the Weight Loss Psychology series, where we're going to explore the first truth in more depth, how our upbringing affects our relationship with weight. So please subscribe if you don't want to miss it. And thank you for watching. I'd love to hear which of these 10 truths resonate for you. Please comment below and let's get the conversation going.